Greetings, everyone. Thank you for joining this ARRT webinar. My name is Callie Koleski, Strategic Communications and Marketing Coordinator at ARRT. We're going to pause for a bit, up to about 20 seconds, to make sure all attendees are in the webinar. Shelley, I will prompt you when to begin. All right. Again, my name is Callie Koleski, Strategic Communications and Marketing Coordinator at ARRT. We will begin the webinar in just a bit, but before we begin, I'd like to give some instructions. We will take questions at the end of the webinar and use the Q&A function in Zoom. On the bottom of your computer or mobile screen, you should see a button to bring up the Q&A window. You can begin to ask questions during the presentation, but we'll wait to address them until after the presentation is complete. Please pay careful attention to the questions that we have already asked, because you can click the thumbs up to vote for a specific question. I will present the most popular questions to our panel, so voting will go further than repeating an existing question. I'd now like to welcome our presenter, Shelley Coutu, who is Supervising Senior Exam Development Coordinator in Exam Requirements and Psychometrics Department at ARRT. Shelley.
Thank you, Callie. Hello, everyone. We appreciate your interest and support of vascular sonography. Today, we'd like to provide you with information about an exciting opportunity available to students in vascular sonography educational programs. I've been in contact with many of you by email, so it's really nice to have you joining us today. We also have a panel of ARRT professionals with us today who will be available to answer your questions at the end of the webinar. The ARRT mission is fundamental to all that we do. When beginning a new process or considering a new credentialing option, we are often reminded to ask ourselves if what we'd like to do is in keeping with our mission to promote high standards of patient care by recognizing qualified individuals in medical imaging, interventional procedures, and radiation therapy. Vascular sonography is an important part of our mission because of its importance in the medical imaging industry. We'll talk further about how we recognize vascular sonographers and the qualifications that are necessary for this recognition. As part of recognizing qualified individuals, we have very specific certification and registration eligibility criteria. Here at ARRT, we have two pathways to certification and registration. These are called either primary or post-primary eligibility pathways, and our disciplines fall into one or both pathways. The primary eligibility pathway is used by students in educational programs. The post-primary eligibility pathway is typically used by technologists that are already certified and registered in one of ARRT's primary eligibility pathways and who would like to earn an additional credential. Our mission is to recognize qualified individuals. In order to do this, we have a set of requirements or qualifications that include an educational component, ethics attestation, and an examination for certification and registration. Each of these must be completed in order to be considered certified and registered with ARRT. To qualify for certification and registration in vascular sonography using the post-primary eligibility pathway that we have in place, the candidate will initially need to be certified and registered with ARRT in a supporting category. The supporting categories for vascular sonography include radiography, radiation therapy, nuclear medicine, and sonography. Alternatively, candidates may also qualify for this pathway if they are certified through ARDMS in any sonography-related modality. Looking more closely at the educational component for the post-primary eligibility pathway, the candidate will need to document completion of 16 hours of structured education that reflects the vascular sonography content. Demonstrating experience is an important part of promoting high standards. As part of the post-primary eligibility pathway in vascular sonography, candidates are required to demonstrate experience in a series of mandatory and elective procedures. We are excited to announce an additional pathway to vascular sonography certification and registration at ARRT. The Vascular Sonography Primary Eligibility Pathway is now available for students in your educational programs. Similar to the post-primary eligibility pathway, there are also a set of requirements or qualifications that include an educational component, ethics attestation, and an examination. The Vascular Sonography Primary Eligibility Pathway does not require that the candidate be certified and registered with ARRT in a supporting category. Let's look a bit more closely at the educational requirement for the new primary eligibility pathway in vascular sonography. As mentioned, this pathway is used by students in an educational program. That educational program must be accredited by a mechanism that we recognize, which includes programmatic accreditors such as CAHEP and regional and national accreditors, among others. As part of that educational practice, the student must show completion of at least an associate's degree and coursework relevant to vascular sonography. The program should include content from a nationally recognized curriculum. Additionally, students will need to complete our list of clinical competencies for vascular sonography. That completion will be endorsed by their program director or other authorized faculty member. This is a sample of the clinical competency requirements for the primary eligibility pathway. There are 39 mandatory competencies that will be demonstrated on actual patients. 19 of 37 elective competencies also need to be completed and can be demonstrated on either a patient or a volunteer. Keep in mind that multiple competency may be demonstrated on one patient or volunteer. At the bottom of your screen, I provided a link to the competency document for your review. I'll pause for just a moment for you to note that link. As a reminder, we'll be sending this presentation to you following the webinar. Once completion of all the eligibility requirements have been documented, whether through the primary or the post-primary eligibility pathway, the candidate will be eligible to take the examination for certification and registration. All of our exams are administered through a Pearson VUE Test Center. Scheduling of the exam will be made directly through Pearson VUE. The examination for certification and registration in vascular sonography is based on the content found within our vascular sonography content specifications. For our event test, we will have 20 questions in patient care, 75 in image production, and 80 in procedures. There will be an additional 80 unscored pilot questions covering a range of topics for a total of 255 questions. The candidate will have 4¼ hours to complete the examination. At the bottom of your screen, I've once again provided a link to the content specifications for your review. Whether using the primary or post-primary eligibility pathway, the examination for certification and registration is the same. Now that we've talked about the eligibility requirements, let's talk about the event test. The event test will accompany the launch of the vascular sonography primary eligibility pathway. As part of the event test, we're offering the opportunity to earn certification and registration through ARRT while saving the application fee. The free event test for vascular sonography will be offered between May 26th and June 15th, 2021. The same requirements for certification and registration in vascular sonography will also apply for eligibility to take the event test. This process typically costs $200 for most applicants, but the fee will be waived for this event. In summary, certification and registration in vascular sonography includes qualifying for the event test by completing all eligibility requirements and then passing the examination for certification and registration. In order for your students to apply using the primary eligibility pathway, your educational program will need to be added to our database. You'll work with the ARRT Program Director Coordinator to accomplish this. Once program details are on file, you'll have access to our educator's website and you can request applications for your students. The applications for the event test will be available by January 1st, 2021 upon request. Program directors, please keep in mind that your students can apply up to 3 months prior to the program completion date that you list on the application. They will be eligible to take the examination upon verification of completion of their educational program. Here at ARRT, we feel it is critical that a student complete all eligibility requirements before taking one of our examinations for certification and registration. This has been proven time and time again to be a successful model for recognizing qualified individuals in medical imaging, interventional procedures, and radiation therapy. Those candidates applying using the post-primary eligibility pathway will follow a slightly different process. Candidates complete and document all requirements through the ARRT online tool. Candidates already certified and registered with ARRT in a primary discipline will log into their dashboard at arrt.org and choose vascular sonography from their list of post-primary disciplines. Those pursuing certification and registration in vascular sonography using ARDMS as a supporting category will need to complete an online account access form also found on our website. All information related to eligibility requirements for our post-primary eligibility pathway will be tracked and documented using the online tools. Once the candidate has completed all post-primary eligibility requirements, and if they are within the application window for the event test, they'll be directed to complete a paper application for the event test only. Typically, ARRT candidates taking examinations for certification and registration receive a preliminary score at the test center, and final scores are mailed shortly after that. For the vascular sonography event test, preliminary scores will not be available at the test center. Final scores will be mailed to the candidates starting July 31st, 2021, about 45 days after the last available opportunity for the free event. During this 45-day period, ARRT will perform a series of internal tasks to determine the scoring for the examinations. As part of this process, a committee of vascular sonography experts will convene to recommend a passing score as a new section has been added to the examination. Then, our Board of Trustees will review the committee's recommendation and approve the final passing score before the results can be processed. Results will be mailed to all candidates starting on July 31st. Certification and registration status will also be available on the ARRT Verified Credentials page starting that day. Whether the candidate uses the primary or post-primary eligibility pathway to certification and registration, the resultant vascular sonography credential awarded is the same. Following the event test period, both the primary and post-primary eligibility pathways will remain in place as opportunities for those seeking ARRT certification and registration in vascular sonography. Once final results are available, the candidate is considered certified and registered with ARRT. However, maintenance of this new certification will be important. Technologists certified and registered through ARRT must meet a variety of ongoing requirements to maintain their credentials. This includes remaining compliant with ARRT rules and regulations and our standards of ethics. In addition, they'll need to complete an annual renewal process, which includes a renewal fee of $30 for the initial credential and an additional $15 for each credential after that. The renewal fee is slightly higher for those that used an ARDMS sonography credential as their eligibility pathway to ARRT certification and registration. They'll also need to complete and report 24 continuing education activities every 2 years. Finally, every 10 years, they'll complete continuing qualifications requirements. Participation in these requirements demonstrates accountability to peers, physicians, healthcare facilities, and to the public. Certification and registration in vascular sonography through ARRT will provide additional opportunities. Vascular sonography can serve as a supporting category for the post-primary eligibility pathway in both MRI and in breast sonography. We understand that an important factor for students once they have earned their credentials is recognition of those credentials. The ARRT credential in vascular sonography is recognized by both the ACR and IAC for practice accreditation. We partner with other credentialing organizations in support of projects such as revisions to the SDMS scope of practice and clinical standards for diagnostic medical sonographers. ARRT also contributes to the SDMS Foundation in support of programs that benefit the sonography community. Finally, we recently participated in the SDMS-hosted consensus conference on industry standards for the prevention of musculoskeletal disorders in sonography. In summary, here's our process for the event test in vascular sonography. Following our event test period, the examination for certification and registration will remain available to candidates using either the primary or post-primary eligibility pathways. Preliminary scores will once again be available at the test center beginning August 18th, 2021. No matter where you are in this process, we are here to help you. Here is contact information for 2 staff members I work closely with that have a lot of experience in answering your questions. Please don't hesitate to contact them as you go through this process. In conclusion, we'd like to thank you for taking the time to join us today. We sincerely hope we've provided the information you need to help your students join us in this free opportunity. At this time, our panelists are available to answer some of your questions. I'll now turn it back to Callie, who will ask the questions of our panel.
Thank you, Shelley. So at this time, it appears we do not have any questions. So feel free to take this time to insert some questions into our Q&A format. You will see that in the toolbar on either the top or the bottom of your screen. You'll see a Q&A function you can click, and in there you should be able to type questions. You can either ask questions anonymously or with your name on them. And I can go over the instructions one more time while we wait. So once again, you'll see the Q&A function. Oh, looks like we have a question. All right. So our top question is this free event available to all graduates of our programs and community sonographers?
Kelly, I think that's a great question for Terry or for JJ.
I'm not sure what you mean by community sonographers, but graduates of your programs, yes.
All right. So our next question is, with everything going on with COVID and things shifting to online based, will there be any possibility of the application process going electronically?
This is Terry. I can answer that one too. We are working on moving our application processes online, but for this event test, it will not be available. So just for the event test, it will be still on paper.
Thank you, Terry. Our next question is, to ensure that I understand, students can apply 3 months ahead of graduation, but can't take the test until after program completion?
This is Terry. I can take that as well. That is true. They can apply up to 3 months ahead of graduation, but we need the program director to verify program completion before they can schedule the exam.
Thank you, Terry. And I will answer this next one. It says, will we receive a copy of the recording of this webinar or just the slides? You will receive a copy of the recording with the slides. So it will be posted to our website as well as an email sent out to you after this is complete. We can wait a few minutes to see if any more questions come up. To qualify for the 16 hours of structured education, do our academic courses qualify? Do we need to apply for these courses to be approved as structured education?
This is Terry. I can take that one as well. Your academic courses will qualify, but they need to be submitted to our credit distribution team in order to assign them a credit distribution as to the content of the academic course. So they can be submitted through the program director website where you submit a course.
Thank you. Once again, we'll wait a few more minutes to see if another question comes up. You can look for the questions in the Q&A slot on the button on either the top or the bottom of your screen. Feel free to do those thumbs ups to get the questions up to the top that you would like answered as well. Our next question is, the vascular testing is a 4-hour test in a testing facility site. With recent COVID, is there any concern for being at a testing site for that long period of a time? Is ARRT responsible for safety of the testing site? Do you know any measures taken for student applicant safety?
Callie, this is JJ. Oh, go ahead, Terry, if you want.
This is Terry. Pearson VUE has taken steps to ensure the safety of their facilities. They are still only, at the current time, they're still only at 50% capacity so that they can maintain social distancing. ARRT wouldn't be responsible for the safety, but Pearson VUE does have protocols set in place.
Thank you, Terry. Applications for the vascular exam will be available January, correct? Will we be notified when they are available?
This is Terry. January 1, they should be available. We're expecting them to be available, and you will just see that in the program director website where you are able to order those applications for vascular sonography.
Thank you. The vascular competency exams earned for the free event, can these be the same as the competencies achieved while they were in the program?
Callie, this is JJ. I can take this one. I just want to, I'm hoping I'm interpreting the question correctly. As your students go through your program, they perform competency exams. As long as they perform the competency exams that during the program that are listed on our competency requirement document, our didactic and competency requirement document, as long as all of those competencies are included in your program, and you keep record of that, that will be fine. That meets for the event test as well. We actually, you as a program director will attest that all those competencies on our requirements have been met as part of the application process. So we'll know that those have been met before they ever sit for the examination as part of the event test. And let me know if I didn't answer that question, but that's the way I interpreted that.
Thank you, JJ. Our next question is, does the vascular test include a physics portion or is it just vascular questions?
I can take that one. Yes, it includes a physics portion as well. There are 75 questions in the physics portion. We call that image production, spread across 3 areas: basic principles of ultrasound, image formation, and evaluation and selection of representative images. So yes, there is a physics portion.
Thanks, Shelley. And once again, we'll wait just a few more minutes to see if any more questions come up.
Callie, this is JJ. I just wanted to go back to the question about the safety of the candidates at Pearson VUE. And, you know, ARRT has their COVID-19 page on our website. And if you go into that and then kind of scroll down towards the bottom of that page, there is a link to the testing center information. And Pearson VUE has a great site on their website also about COVID-19 that goes into detail of all the safety measures they're taking to ensure candidate safety.
Thank you. So it appears that we have come to a close for the questions, and we were able to give you, oops, looks like we have one more question that came up. Sorry if I missed this. Specific to the vascular test, is the list of required competencies available now or not until January? Where can this list be found? I have a cohort grad.
Yeah, I can take that. Yes, it is available now and it's on our website. And the link to that actually is embedded in the PowerPoint, so you should be able to find it at that point.
Thanks, Shelley. And last chance for questions. I'll wait for about one more minute.
This is JJ. Just to add on to that, you can always find updated documents for vascular sonography by going to ARRT's website. And if you scroll to the bottom under quick links, you'll see the label for discipline documents, and you'll be able to see everything there that you would need for vascular sonography. You can select it by the discipline.
Thank you. Okay, it appears that we have come to a close of questions and we were able to give you some time back in your day. We will email you a link to the webinar and to the webpage about ARRT's Vascular Sonography Primary Eligibility Pathway. Thank you all very much for attending and have a great day.